Okay, I have the pitch for Reminiscence. Imagine Westworld with Hugh Jackman. Did that work for you? No? Okay, let's get into the review. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real review, and today I'm excited to talk about Reminiscence, a new sci-fi noir film from director and writer Lisa Joy. It's starring Hugh Jackman, Thandiwe Newton, and Rebecca Ferguson. A huge thank you to Warner Brothers for giving me the chance to watch this in person. I screened the movie on Miami Beach, and this movie showcases Miami in a dystopian world where sea level rise is a real thing. The film itself is about an investigator named Nick Bannister who guides people through their memories, and one day stumbles upon a memory that is all too familiar, which unravels a mysterious case that must be solved before it's too late. See, from the description alone, from the trailer that I watched, I was all the way in on Reminiscence, so I was so excited to sit down and watch this film. But guys, I'm here to tell you that, well, we have a lot to talk about. Now, before we get into the film, if it is your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where I talk about movies and TV with a little bit of news in between. So if you don't want to miss out, go ahead and hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, and tap on that bell, y'all. And get loud in the comments below and let me know when you watch this film, whether it be in theaters or on HBO Max this weekend. Did you enjoy it, or are you a little disappointed? And guys, if you haven't already, hit the thumbs up button because it does a lot to help the video. Alrighty guys, so let's get right into what I like about Reminiscence, because there are some elements to this film that I really enjoyed. And right at the top of the list is Lisa Joy's ambition. She brings so many huge swings to this movie, both from a directing standpoint and from a writer's standpoint. I loved what she did in terms of crafting a certain world, and the story she presents is really fascinating. I love the fact that she was able to tie in an interesting concept surrounding memories and mystery, and she even tied in some real world effects right here in South Florida. Now, being born and raised here, guys, I can tell you that sea level rise is a very real thing, but the fact that this movie was shot and filmed in Miami and has this war-torn dystopian backdrop, I almost thought, oh my gosh, this is a little too real. And the movie itself also addresses classism between the dry lands and wetlands, two different groups that are definitely on opposing sides of the field. And then you have the movie fleshing out everything in terms of the world from start to finish. So honestly, if you are a fan of Westworld, which Lisa Joy created alongside Jonathan Nolan, I do think that you're going to enjoy the concepts that she does toy with in this film. And honestly, I love the first act, and when it gets a bit confusing, that's when it got fun for me. But outside of the story and the direction, I actually really thought this film was beautiful on the big screen. The cinematography absolutely shocked me, and I thought it was a very well shot film. There's even this underwater sequence that happens towards the last half of the film that just completely floored me. I was left speechless, guys. It looked so good. And honestly, the cinematography does make up for other areas in this movie that are a little lacking. But you know what's not lacking? Some of the performances in this movie, guys, because we gotta talk about this cast. It is an all-star cast, and it's led by Hugh Jackman, who plays Nick Bannister. I just think Hugh Jackman works as a detective in a sci-fi noir film, and I love the fact that he's alongside Watts, who's played by Thandiwe Newton. Both of them are very good together. If anything, I thought that their chemistry was the absolute best, because they both are trying to deal with traumas that they've pretty much hidden and put away for many, many years. And it also helps that Hugh Jackman bought into this role completely, especially when he's diving into the tank, which is this device they use to go and relive those memories. And his narration track over the course of the film really helped tie together that noir feel. But outside of Hugh Jackman and Thandiwe Newton, I do think that Rebecca Ferguson's performance was pretty good. She plays May, and I think Rebecca Ferguson is excellent anyway, but in this role, it gave me little shades of The Greatest Showman, because we both know that Hugh Jackman and Rebecca Ferguson were great in that film, but I do think she brings a lot of intrigue and mystery, especially in the first half of this movie. And May is Nick's love interest, so I do think their romantic chemistry worked for the most part, and it provided a lot of emotional weight in the first half of the film as well. But guys, unfortunately, that's where the positives end for Reminiscence, at least to me, because for as ambitious as this movie is, as good as some of the performances are, and as pretty as it looks, this movie was a bit of a letdown. And one of the biggest issues I had was with the story itself, which doesn't really carry for me through to the end. The mystery and piecing together of these memories in the first half an hour of this film was really engaging for me, but once that mystery starts to unravel, I found that the payoff was very underwhelming. The more we learn about May, the less interesting the film becomes, you guys, and honestly, I do feel that the film is very ambitious, it just doesn't have a lot of cohesion. And that's one thing that this movie struggles with with, which is cohesion and tone. It's always kind of clashing, and I do feel like the story beats are a little clunky as we get closer and closer to the end. And some of these mind-blowing reveals really should have impacted me more, but I almost feel like Reminiscence doesn't necessarily do a good job at capitalizing on them. And I also was pulled out of this movie more than once in terms of being immersed in this world that Lisa Joy's creating because of the performances and because of the accents. When we get to New Orleans, I just couldn't buy some of the accents by our characters here. One of them is St. John, who's played by Daniel Wu, and while I believe Daniel Wu is a good actor, here it just doesn't work for me at all. And not only that, he's not very convincing as a drug dealer, and this accent just really took me out of the movie. And another actor that had a similar issue was Cliff Curtis as Cyrus Booth, who's, well, oh gosh, I don't know what accent he was trying to use. He used 2 or 3 in this film. And there's a very large chunk of this movie where we get both Cyrus and Nick in the third act. And that accent that Cliff Curtis puts on is really distracting. And sadly, it generated laughs from our audience when there should have been gasps and oh my gosh moments. But yeah, that's not a good sign. And the overall acting outside of our core cast is really rough and also unconvincing. And sadly, this just takes away from that serious tone in the movie because I was just incredibly distracted. I was instead focusing on the accents and trying to figure out where these characters are from because they say they're from New Orleans, but I just don't buy it. They don't sound like they're from New Orleans. So I just wish this movie really dug deeper into the immersion and maybe just cast some actors that are from New Orleans, or maybe cast actors that can just put on a better accent, because this wasn't it for me. Now, going into Reminiscence, there was another area that I was really looking forward to, which is the score by Ramin Djawadi. And trust me when I tell you guys, Ramin Djawadi has composed some of your favorite pieces of music, and if you don't know, well, you better go look in his IMDb. So not only did he do Westworld, but he's done so much more, and I just really was excited to see him play with this sci-fi noir world that Lisa Joy created. But unfortunately, his composition was also hit and miss. While there are elements that really tie in that noir theme, I almost felt like it stuck out like a sore thumb when the action was rising. It didn't really add much to the film, and that's so weird to say because I love his compositions for the most part, but this is probably my least favorite that I've heard from him. So overall, you guys, Reminiscence is a sci-fi noir movie that is not going to be for everyone. This is not a very accessible film, and I do think it'll play better on streaming than in theaters because it's tough to really convince somebody to sit down for a story that is very abstract. And what I do love most about the film, though, is its ambition. So if you do find yourself in a theater this weekend watching Reminiscence, I don't think you're going to hate your time with the movie. But for me, I was just really let down by the potential of this film and how it failed to capitalize on that potential. It's a film that does feature good performances from Hugh Jackman, Rebecca Ferguson, and Thandiwe Newton, but it also features some really unconvincing performances by everyone else, and our supporting cast here really ruins the film sometimes. And I do wish it was a more complete, cohesive experience from start to finish, because everything that I loved in the first half is unlike anything that we saw in the second half, and when the film does reveal that mystery, it was just not impacting at all. I didn't actually feel anything, and that's probably an issue. I didn't gasp, my jaw wasn't on the ground, and I didn't walk out of the theater thinking, oof, that was a good twist. Instead, I left the theater thinking, what could have been? So guys, unfortunately, Reminiscence is not one of the better films of 2021, but if you are looking for a sci-fi noir movie to watch this weekend, well, this is going to be your best bet. I would just say temper your expectations, because if you were a fan of that trailer like I was, well, the movie isn't as great. So there you have it, guys. That's my real review of Reminiscence. Again, it's in theaters and HBO Max this weekend, so you don't want to miss out. And when you do watch the film, guys, go ahead and get loud down below in the comments and let me know what you think of this film. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the big red button below. Stay subscribed to the channel, because next week, it's a busy one, y'all. We're going to get into some fun movies, TV, and hopefully some news. Alrighty, guys, again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you at the next screening. And I'm going to go do some more research on sea level rise, because, yeah, I'm pretty scared now.